Hello there people, and welcome back to my computer. This is Christian, and I'm playing around with Fusion 360. No surprise. I'm doing this today. This is from a Facebook question. The question was really, how do I place the domes on the face here? But I will not answer that question. I will do a workflow that produces this thing here. The workflow really stops before we do the cutout through everything here. I'm just keeping that so you can see that the pattern is wrapping around the cylinder in a nice way, and this model is fully parametric and also contains some safety features. So one parameter is missing. Where are you? Ratio. Need it? Oh, it just renumbered them. We can change this to 0.5. This is the ratio between the cutout and the size. Let Fusion think for a while. This is like semi-hard for Fusion to calculate. And it goes black for a while, and then it goes back like that, so that works. I have limitations on like the domes here. So if I dome diameters, the diameter, if I make mistake, type in 200, which wouldn't fit on the cylinder, of course. There's a cap inside the parameters, which makes it lock down so it doesn't over exceed the spacing in between here. And of course we can make them protrude a bit more. Let's put in 2 millimeters. Let Fusion think for a while. And we have something like that. And we can change the cylinder height. We can do that to 150. And it will recalculate how many patterns that fits into the height of a cylinder. The driving part of the design is of course the diameter of the cylinder that sets up the number of patterns, stuff like that. Or we add the number of patterns here and then it calculates that. Come on Fusion, stop thinking now, it's not that hard. Oh, we have a bigger model. So let's have a look at this. We will, of course, as I said, we will stop as when we come to here. So we're going to end up with this model. So we're going to start a new design. Shall we do a new component? Yes, we can do a new component. Cylinder thing 1. We're going to start with our parameters. Change parameters. Of course, we need something like cylinder diameter. Let's make that 75 to make a bit different numbers here. We're going to do cylinder height 115. I'm just taking random numbers. I hope this works out. What I like to do at some points, if I work in the design, I like type in a couple of parameters, then I stop and have a look what I need more parameters in further down the line. So let's start with these two, because these are going to be in a sketch. We're going to make a circle, and that's of course going to be our cylinder diameter. And we're going to hit E on the keyboard. It immediately stops the sketch. If you just hit E on the keyboard for to extrude, it stops the sketch, moves over to extrude command, and we're going to do cylinder height. And we're going to have a look at it. And we're going to open up and have a look at our bodies and our sketches. We're going to hide that sketch for now. I have turned off auto hide, so my sketches stays visible. So this is the cylinder we're going to be working on. Now we need to decide some things. We need to decide how many patterns do we want around the circle, and what's the ratio between the cutout and the left spacing. So let's do these parameters. This is going to be favorites later because we're going to change those. Number, pattern, circle, let's call that. That's the circular direction. That has to be no units, and I want to do 15. Like that. And as we have this now we can calculate the width of one pattern. So let's do that. Pattern width. That is going to be our diameter of our cylinder multiplied by pi. Remember, big letters. And that's the circumference of the cylinder, and we divide that with the number of patterns which we decided. So that gives us our pattern width. And so that's calculating pattern. Always comment your stuff you do in pattern width around cylinder like that. Go back. So we have our pattern width. And we need to decide the ratio. It's going to be a new unit. Try to keep consistent name pattern, ratio, cut, spacing. Let's do the 0.8. So the cut is going to be 80% of the width of the pattern width, and 0.2 or 20% is going to be spacing or the solid parts. So do you want to do, that's going to be a favorite later. Do I need to calculate there's a different ways. You can do the calculation in parameters here, or we can do it in the sketch. I think I'll do this in the sketch like that. So we're gonna stop there. As you see, I'm rethinking what I'm doing all the time. We're gonna start tangent plane because we're gonna sketch on side of a tangent here. I'm gonna make sure that I turn around my so I have a front towards me and click here, because then it's gonna align the construction plane with the front. Hit A, okay, construct a sketch on a new plane. And I like to project in one thing. I hit P on the keyboard and I search for the hold down shift I need to do. Where are you? Center point. I want a center point. Where is my center point? Turn on that sketch you. Oh, there. I want that point. I had to turn on the previous sketch. I want the center point of a circle projected up here. That's the only thing I want. I want nothing else. I'm going to hide the body and hide that sketch. So I projected the center point of the earlier sketch circle. Look at sketch. We're going to make a little rectangle here. We're going to tell Fusion that these two sides are equal, and we're going to do some lines. So now we're going to draw, this is going to be the cutout, and we're going to do the rest of the pattern. I want to avoid double lines. Avoid doing lines that are on top of each other that can confuse you and confuse Fusion. So I'm going to do construction lines here, something like this. Then here and up there. We have perpendicular constraints all the way around. We're going to tell Fusion that these two lines are equal. And we're now going to dimension this. This here is going to be our pattern width. Pattern width. And the dimension of this cutout, D for dimension again here, is going to be our pattern width multiplied by the ratio. Like that. So move these numbers to the side. This is gonna be a little thing, so we can move it around now. So the thing is, we have our body behind here. I want to make sure that this line here is locked down to the bottom. So we're going to do a coincident between this line. Coincident between this line here and this point here. So it stays down here. Now we need to move it sideways and find where we want to have it. And the thing I want to do, I want to place the center of this spacing here, because I'm going to put the domes here later. I want this here centered on this point here, because that is the same as origin points. I can later use the built-in planes, the planes of origin, for the next sketch I'm going to do. And I use that as a reference. So we're going to do a horizontal between this point, and I want the midpoint up here, but the midpoint doesn't, no, I need to do that again. Horizontal, this point, and I want this line here, of a midpoint of this line, so I hold down shift and find the midpoint. And it gets locked down like that. The only thing I'm missing now is that the dome I'm going to do here is going to be placed somewhere up here, but not just somewhere. We need to find that point, and the point up here, if you think the next pattern is going to be up here, so there should be a small square here. We can do this some different ways. I'm just going to do a circle from this midpoint up to a corner. So the center of the dome should be up here. So let's do a small line from here and straight up like that. So this point here is going to be the center of a dome we're going to do later. We're not going to do that now. We're going to turn on our bodies like that. And we can now do a circular pattern. S on the keyboard, type in, no. We need to emboss it first, of course. S, emboss, 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 emboss. Sketch this profile, this face here. I'm going to make a deboss. I forgot to set a parameter for that, so let's do that. Change parameters. We're going to add one. Deboss cut. Let's do that -4, hit OK, make the cut favorite. Once again, we're going to do the emboss command. we're gonna go this by sketch profile, the face, and that's gonna be our deboss cut like that. We get a nice cut. We say okay. We're gonna do a circular pattern of but we want features. We want for this emboss feature. The axis, simply just click on the cylinder, and quantity is number of pattern circular like that. I'm gonna hide the sketch for now. So we made that. The problem is now we want to spread this upwards, but we need to know how many times we can do that. So modify, change parameters, add a parameter, pattern, number, what did I call? I called numbers earlier. Let's do that again. Number, pattern, height. Gonna be no units, of course. And the possibilities we have, we know the cylinder height, and we divide that with the pattern width we had. It's going to use the same as around the width around the circle is going to be placed on the height. But the problem is we get 7.32, and we can't use a fraction number like this in our quantity. It's going to confuse it. So what we do is we use the floor command, floor parentheses and end parentheses. What floor does, it rounds the number down to the next integer, so it's going to be 7. So this is a calculated number of pattern along height. So hit OK. We are now done that. So we're going to do S again. We're going to do rectangular pattern. We can make sure it says features, and we can select our circular pattern and our first deboss, or we want all of them. The direction is going to be upwards like that. Spacing, we're going to change the distance type to spacing, and that's going to be the same as our pattern width. So it gets the same spacing in height direction as around the circle, and quantity is number of pattern on height. Wait for Fusion to think, and we have made our beautiful little cutouts. We can now check that our parameter is working. If we change the height of a cylinder, let's make it a bit smaller. Let's make it 100, and let's do 105. It should be middle of a pattern. And you can see it leaves a bit of spacing here. So that's maybe a problem for you. You have to adapt the height to suit the pattern you're doing. Let's go back to 150. 15% looked really good. I think the ratio is off. I mean, we'll do that 0.7 instead. You can play around with your parameters like that, but yeah, that's really good. So now we have created everything we need for the cutouts. They are nicely around the circle, or around the cylinder like that. Now we're going to start working our domes. Let's go home. We need some parameters, of course. We're going to change parameter. I'm going to hide this for now. We're going to need to decide dome diameter. It's going to be in millimeters. Let's say 5. We're just going to add it, input some now so you can start working. Make that a favorite. Dome height is going to be basically how do I spell? Dome height. This is going to be the radius of the dome, basically. Radius of dome. Let's do that 2. It's going to be slightly smaller when our dome diameter, so that works. But the thing is, these are good, but I can by mistake put in numbers that will crash everything, and I like to add in some small things to make sure I do not use totally bad inputs. So we're going to do dome diameter checked value. What am I spelling? Check value. So what I do, I want to use a feature of Fusion called min, the minion value, because I want to use the lowest value of two things, either dome diameter and semicolon, or the other thing I can use is the spacing width here, which should be pattern width multiply by 1 minus the ratio. Are you following me? Like that. So that tells me the maximum diameter I can really have of a dome without interfering. So the dome will stay the same width as between these two lines here. It can only be 4.7, so that's the value I'm going to use. I'll put in 5 here, so that one don't work, but that's no problem. Hit OK. And the same thing with dome height. If I do the diameter with 4.7, 4.2 still works, but I mistake put in 2.5. That would crash things, so I'm going to make another parameter. Going to type in diameter here to remember what I'm doing. Oh, sorry. Oh, change parameters. I'm going to add another one. Once again, we're going to do dome height checked. We're going to use minimum again, and that's the input value for dome height, or the dome diameter checked divided by 2. So it needs to be the smallest value of those two. It can never be, the radius of a dome can of course never be more than half of the diameter of the dome. Yeah, basic math and geometry. Check value height dome. Like that. We have put everything we need here. So we're going to do a construction plane. We're going to turn on our sketches. We're going to need those for 1 hour. I'm going to do construction plane, or offset plane, sorry. I'm going to hold down to find the XY plane and distance. I'm going to do 2 object. I'm going to zoom in on my sketch here. So this is why I did the circle earlier, because this point here is the center of the dome. So I'm going to do a construction plane here. Hit OK. Hide those 2 sketches. Hide the. We're going to use the body in a short while. We're going to do a sketch. Make sure we hit the new plane we created. And the first thing I'm going to do, hit S on the keyboard and type in intersect. We use the body. Just click the body, hit OK, and hide the body. And we now hide this very nicely, the circle here. I've not used it like this, so I'm going to highlight it and turn it in construction. We're going to make a line, basically anywhere we want. Make sure it becomes horizontally constrained. And we're going to dimension this. This is going to be a dome diameter. We must only make sure now we do dome diameter. We use the check value, not the dome value input. Like that. Hit enter. And we're going to do an arc. I'm going to do a 3-point arc like this. Just pull it out slightly. I'm going to make a line. Find the center point of this line, pull it straight out to here, and we're going to dimension this line. This was the dome height, and we're going to use the dome height checked. However, as the dome, sorry, I'm spelling like crap. Anyway, it works. I'm going to have a look. That's our dome. I'm going to change my parameters. I don't like when I'm thinking and typing at the same time, which doesn't work. Dome. Whoops. Oh, where are you? There you are. Dome. Sorry, watching me typing in stuff like that. We're going to do revolve. S on the keyboard, typing revolve of this here, around this axis here, 360 degrees, and you want to join it. Like that. You can hide the sketch for now. S circular pattern. We're going to pattern this feature around this axis, and the quantity is going to be number of patterns circular. Hit OK, and we get them around nicely. Now we need them in this direction. S rectangular pattern. Once again, features. Going to be our revolve, and as for primary circular pattern, direction is going to be up and down vertically. Quantity, spacing, we're going to do still effort. That's going to be our pattern width again. So that looks good. You space it out. Now number of patterns, it's going to be number of pattern on height, but minus 1. Otherwise we're going to get 1 pattern up here in the thin air. I don't want that. And okay. And just to view things, we're gonna do a circle up here. And that's what I did earlier. It's gonna make a simple circle here. It's not that important. We're gonna extrude that circle downwards, distance, all like that. So we can have a look at the pattern. So we end up with this, and we're gonna check now. Did I do everything correctly? If I now, let's see, look like that. I'm gonna hide those. If I change the dome diameter to, that's a bit big, I like to have them 4 millimeters. And I think 2 is a bit too much of a semi-sphere, so I'm gonna do that at 1.5. Now we can play around with things. So get a like a nice dome shaped here. And sorry, I hate when Fusion stops zooming. I'm gonna hide that sketch. Of course, we can change the ratio. Maybe it's 0.8. Let's see how much changes. It should pop away this so. Let Fusion think. Yeah, as you can see, it changed the size of a dome as I made the cathodes bigger. And we can make with 120. And you can see it changes everything. And of course, the cathode circle I did earlier doesn't work now. But you can see, this is what I like to play around with parameters. I hope this can be useful for you to think in a bit of a different way. How you, sorry for blinking, how you make patterns around a cylinder and make them nice and evenly spaced, and how you can use like floor and minimum or min to avoid crashing things when you're putting parameters. With that said, take care, see you around, and goodbye.